Greetings, Cleveland, and welcome to Conversations with Cal, the show that initiates engaging conversation. I'm your host, Cornell Calhoun III, and I'm thrilled to have as my guest the Councilwoman from Ward 7, Miss Stephanie Howse-Jones. Councilwoman, thank you for being on the show.
Listen, Cal, I gotta take you wherever I go. I'm loving the introduction and the positive vibe energy.
Let's start a conversation.
Okay.
So, I have to admit to you that, I live in Ward 7.
Okay, hey.
And I'm a Ward 7. And I always get my newsletter, Scenes and Sounds of 7. And just wanted to say you do a remarkable job. I wanted to get that out of the way first.
I really appreciate that. It's a team. It's a collection of us working together to be able to meet all of our residents where they are and get information to them so they can make informed decisions.
So, Cleveland gal all the way. I know you went to Cleveland School of the Arts, vocal and instrumental music. So that means you got those golden pipes, right?
A little something. My voice has changed over the years, but I could be a good background.
Florida A&M, the Rattlers, yes. Orange and Green.
Yes.
Then on to Cleveland State University to get your master's. Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk a little bit about Florida A&M, HBCU. Mm-hmm. Was that a conscious choice to go to HBCU? Because, I went to Talladega College, Talladega, Alabama, but I didn't really have a choice. I got a free ride basketball scholarship. We were dirt poor, so there was no way I was going without that. But did you make a conscious effort to go to a HBCU?
Absolutely. It was an absolute decision. I knew I wanted to go, and it really stems from I would give a shout out to the Urban League of Greater Cleveland. During my high school years, you go on a lot of college tours, but they were intentional to offer an opportunity for families to go on the HBCU college tour. Okay. And many of my high school teachers, counselors, they were really trying to push me. They're like, hey, they were saying, hey, consider like Howard or Spelman or something like that. And I was like, okay. And then when it came to going to visit Howard, the tour was sold out. So I couldn't pick that route. And then someone had told me about Spelman. And I was like, okay, so I'll take the Southern tour. And when I went on the Southern tour, that's when I was formally introduced to Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University down in Tallahassee, Florida, on top of the highest of 7 hills. And I fell in absolute love with the university. And I had a music teacher, Dr. William Woods, who had a very close friend who actually was a graduate from Tennessee State University, who was the guidance counselor at John Hay, who actually worked with me to get, my stuff together. And again, that's one of the things that you will find within the HBCU network, historically Black colleges and universities. There is such strong connections and love. And if somebody know you interested, they will find a way to make it happen. And so I'm very, very grateful to have that experience. And little known, probably unknown fact is when I graduated back in 1997, Florida A&M University was the #1 college in the country, not just for HBCUs, the #1 college in the country. So shout out to FAMU.
So tell me if the university helped shape your concepts and ideas towards leadership and politics at all, and if so, how?
So yes, when I was at FAMU, I only knew one person. So I came into the door at a fairly large university, not knowing anybody but one person. It was a guy who went to my church, and he was down there. He was a little older than me, but I had to find my way. And so getting dropped off there, there was an opportunity for me to run for student government, SGA. And I did it. And so I was a freshman and sophomore senator in the legislative body. And that just continued, just my advocacy for other college students as it relates to university operations. Also, again, one of those things where when you try to run for another position, unfortunately came up short. And so you getting that, I would say, getting my mojo together, a little bit of understanding, in in this political space or arena, there are wins and losses. And so you have to, dust yourself off when you get an L and keep pressing forward. And being able to just be connected with people who want to create positive change and really listen to other people around you to see if we can have a vision and an agenda.
Why public service?
It was public service for me has been one of many things I wanted to do, right? So I am a trained engineer. So I started off engineering.
So impressed.
I had a small business at some point in time. I had a nonprofit girls organization. And so being in public service was just a part of the journey. I knew based on how I was raised here in Cleveland that you could help people. And I wanted to do that. And God found alignment to make that a reality and partnership, with neighbors and many folks that probably have never made me, but gave me an opportunity to say yes to me.
We were talking before we came on about state representative, and I know your mother was a well-respected state representative, Annie Key, 11th District. And, I got to thinking, because when you were state representative, you represented the 11th District also, right?
For a moment, yes.
So, I'm wondering if that was a first where the mother and daughter both represent the same district, even though, obviously not the same time.
No, there are other mother-daughter combos. I'm going to shout out to now Congresswoman Amelia Strong Sykes. Her mother, Barbara Sykes, served in the Ohio House of Representatives, as well as my colleague, Representative Janine Boyd, who also her mother, Barbara Boyd. So there are many mother-daughter duos that have happened in the Ohio representatives, and I am appreciative to have the opportunity to follow in my mother's footsteps. She is an amazing public servant who always had a ground and a heart and a real love for people. And so that was the modeling that I saw in my home. And, I've had the opportunity to go in that way.
Yeah, we were talking earlier, and I told you that your mother replaced, like, my godfather, Troy Lee James, who was in the legislature for 34 years. And I just got to share the story with you. But so Troy was from Texarkana, Texas. And I think he had like about 18, 19 in his family. He had like 12 brothers. And all the boys, the middle name was Lee. So Troy said one time he was out playing and he ran in the house to do something, and his father snatched him up and said, "Where you going, boy?" And Troy said, "I live here." And he said, "What's your name?" And Troy said, "Troy Lee James." So he put him down because he knew that was his son because of the name Lee,
That is funny.
Yeah, Troy. And I'd asked you if you met him, if you ever met him, right, back in the day.
Yeah. I was definitely, as a, adolescent, child, teen coming up, to had some passing of the Honorable Troy Lee James. And so, yes, like very huge political giant who served in the Ohio House of Representatives, and very, grateful for his service, paving the way for many of us that are coming after him.
So, Councilwoman, the work of your mother, did that inspire you to go into politics?
It did, absolutely. When you are in a household where my mother, she started off as a precinct committee member, president of our street block club, you just could get connected and see how people can organize together to create positive things literally on their streets, on their blocks. And you see the process of what it takes to run a campaign where people depend on a network of other individual citizens to help them spread their message, right? To get them elected. And that's what I grew up around, and to see the ending result when people get in office, the connections that can be made to get issues resolved, get questions answered, connect to opportunities. And that really just really motivated me and motivated me to say that's where I want to be, and that's what I would like to have the opportunity to do.
What is it like growing up in a political family? environment, would you say?
Yeah, see, a lot of things is I think I had the benefit of like, I don't have the same last name as my mother. So many times, like I would be around, but a lot of times people wouldn't make a connection because me and my mom don't have the same last name.
Okay.
And so I, again, like I said, if you know, but then many people didn't know. So I could just kind of squirt around and wild out a little bit.
What do you think are the most essential qualities in being a successful council person, would you say?
So I'd say top of mind, top qualities, you have to be an effective listener, right? You have to listen to what other people are saying, whether you agree with them or not. Secondarily, I believe it's really important for individuals, especially in being an elected person, to tell the truth, right? Tell the truth when things are good, when things are bad, just tell the truth. Like a lot of times people have this notion of I'm only going to tell people what they want to hear or what I want them to hear. No, tell people the actual truth to then inform them so that they can make some decisions for themselves and you go from there.
What has been the biggest challenge for you being a woman of color in the political arena, would you say?
The biggest challenge for me personally on my journey is the underestimating and the undervalue of the skill and the value I bring to this work.
And elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, people, they have these notions in life of what certain people can't do. For me, myself, what a Black woman can or cannot do, because many people they just don't have that experience, So when I went into the Ohio House of Representatives, many of my colleagues have never had to have a Black woman be their equal. And you grow up in an environment and a society that tells you women are less than, Black is less than. So when you get into that environment, they don't think you have anything to bring to the table, right? And then you move that over even here in Cleveland City Council. It's, I come into this space as I am new in this environment. I come with at least 7 years of legislative experience, and people will dismiss it like it's nothing, and I'm like, wait, hold on. I've gotten some things done in some very not pleasant environments. And so again,
I know you let them know.
Listen, like, don't try to play me like I don't know what I'm talking about. I do. So, that's what I said, like the underestimating and undervaluing what I know I can bring to the table, because people sometimes have blinders on and believe that their way is the only way or their way is the right way. And if someone like myself, like, I'm not just going to let things go by. I'm like, oh, hello.
That's what I'm about.
There's another way to do this. Have we considered this? Because again, we're in a time where not only that do we have to solve systematic problems and challenges, we have to work much more quicker to get the things done. Many of our people don't have a generation for us to solve a problem. Like many of our people need relief today and in a new future. And it's going to take all of us bringing all of our brilliance to the table to make that happen.
What do you enjoy most about being the councilwoman for our ward?
The thing I love most is I really do just love people and getting the opportunity to get connected to people, and specifically the people that are doing amazing things in our community. I am always inspired by just seeing people do great things. They're not out here complaining about the problem. They actually are putting in some actual work to move our community forward, right? So when you look at, we have like fabulous artists. I'm going to shout out someone like Antonisha Harris. She is a property owner in the Huff neighborhood. She has recognized a challenge when it comes to vacant lots and not complaining about, just getting to work, right? Bringing other community members together to push our community forward. And I just know that spirit of just getting the work done, bringing positive energy. And of course, there are challenges along the way, but focusing on the collective I'm really inspired by meeting our neighbors in that way.
And what message would you give to a young black woman who had aspirations for going into the political field today, especially today, the way it is?
Absolutely. I would just tell you, you belong here. We need you. Your brilliance, your beauty, trust me, and the love that you have to offer for our people, for our community is necessary, and you can do it.
How do you navigate tough decisions when somebody's feelings may get hurt? I mean, because in your position, you got to make some tough choices sometimes. How do you navigate that?
Again, I'll start off when I tell you the skills that you need is to be an effective listener and to tell the truth, right? And I'm really try to communicate with people that you are not going to always agree with me, right? That standard of always agreeing with everything that I'm saying, similar to the relationship you have in your home. You don't always agree with your children. You don't always agree with your spouse. You don't always agree with your parents. So to have that standard that you're going to agree with everything I do, that's not realistic. What I owe you is the real rationale of why I made the decision at that time based on the information that I have. That's what I owe. And that's the commitment that I make and really try to share with community members. And many times, like in this position, I don't get the luxury just to make a decision based on this isolation, right? There are many multitude of opinions, relationships, businesses that I'm evaluating, coming to a conclusion. And I take people's voices into consideration. And I also am taking other people's voices into consideration. And then you just have to make a decision and tell people this is a decision that I have to make. And hopefully we can move past it if we don't agree. But sometimes people don't want to do that. And I understand. That's life. And I just hopefully at the end of the day that people can understand that I'm coming from a place of real love. I share with people that don't know, like currently in my community, like I am born and bred and raised here in our community, right? Mm-hmm. I have lived in 3 of the current 4 neighborhoods I represent, downtown St. Clair and Huff. I've lived in each of those communities. And I'm always thinking about how do you create opportunities for everyone to live? You know what I'm saying? Like growing up in a household, I started my life with, the American dream, a 2-parent household. And then life happens. And then my mother became guardian for 4 of my cousins whose parents were dealing with, just life challenges. And then my parents got divorced. And then my mother was a working mom with 5 girls. That's a very different that change that happens in someone's life can be very unsettling. But I feel like what I know is that there's an opportunity for everyone to live in this community because I've lived it, right? On both spectrums, right? Being afforded the opportunity to go to college and, live my dreams and fulfill some of my dreams. Our community provides an opportunity for everyone. And so I'm bringing that lens to the table when I'm making decisions based on that spectrum of a lived life based on my life. And what I'm hearing from community members and business owners who are a part of the fabric of our community.
How do you think you've evolved from the first time you took public office to now?
How have I evolved? Like starting off, why did you want to be here in this space? I thought this was the place where you could really help people, you can solve problems. And so you come into it really having a notion and believing that everybody knows what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. They have all the answers. Then I realized, no, they don't. No, they don't. Right. And so that's one of the things is that, being in public service provides you a platform to make decisions for the whole, but you still need community, right? You still need the expertise of many different sources to be able to create and craft a policy or a program that everybody is going to have to live with. And so it really has put me in a mindset of don't take anybody's just word for it. I'm a person who is a stickler of show it to me in black and white, because people have a tendency just to tell you what they want you to know versus really everything that's there. So you got to be real detail oriented in this, in this space, so that you can come up with, I would say, a sound resolution, or, to a problem, or being able to present an issue or a policy.
Share a particular moment when an initiative that you presented had a direct impact that you actually saw, and you were elated about it. Because I know you've had many.
Yeah, I have many. I'm going to give a shout out, the partnership that we've been able to institute here in Cleveland, A Home for Every Neighbor. This is the initiative where if people, just due to the pandemic, it really has created this crisis of unhoused homelessness. And, we had tents that were popping up that many times we didn't see. And there were other policy decisions that the city of Cleveland made that resulted in people coming, more people coming into Ward 7, having encampments. And with the Home Every Neighbor program, the city of Cleveland invested $2 million to have a direct housing strategy where we would get people from tents directly into housing, a process that typically can take months. And I'm talking months, like 6 to 9 months, now has been, streamlined to, a couple of weeks. And it is produce real results where people are being treated with dignity and really getting the wraparound services and supports to address some of the challenges that led to them living on the streets of Cleveland. And I'm proud of that.
What's your vision for Ward 7?
So the vision of Ward 7 is always to create an environment where people can live a life well lived, based on the ABCs. Access to resources, building family and neighbor relationships, and creating a safe and vibrant community.
What do you want your legacy to be when you say farewell to public service?
Oh, wow. My legacy. I guess I would want my legacy to center on Stephanie had a love for people, and she was like a fierce partner and a fighter for creating a system that works for all. I'm very clear that the government system that we have, it wasn't created for the majority of us, right? Mm-hmm. And so I feel strongly, being in this position, I have an obligation to speak truth to that, but also commit to doing the work to ensure that our system is redesigned so that it can truly work for all of us.
What's the best advice that you've ever received since taking this position as city council? Councilwoman. Or good advice?
I do think the best advice that I'm still trying to get to learn, especially in politics, and especially in the legislative branch, right? Mm-hmm. I am currently one of 17 to be one of 15, understanding that your first constituent base are your colleagues who have to vote on the things that you want to get accomplished. That's probably and not only that fact, but you need to actually establish good working relationships with the people that you work with, that you need their yes, and they need your yes. And I know, I have growth in that area, because at times I can get so focused on doing the work or, serving residents and other community stakeholders, that I'm missing just the realness of being a human being and connecting with my colleagues. And so for the advice that was given to me, many times I see how at times I've missed opportunities because I haven't invested in those relationships with my colleagues the way that I needed to get us on a quicker path, right? A quicker path to resolve some of the really challenging times, or just the challenging circumstances that we find ourselves here in the city of Cleveland.
You talked about something earlier, and you voiced it on Welcome to My Ward. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it was so profound. I want you to elaborate on it.
Okay.
You want everyone to truly live a life well lived. I just thought that was such a profound statement. I wrote it, jotted it down. Elaborate on that, because that's powerful.
Yeah, and I will tell you, it was a conversation, a young lady, her name is Keisha. And you know how you always you want everybody to live a best life. And she challenged, look at that perspective. It's not about living the best life. It's about a life well lived, right? Because we all come from different places, different circumstances. And we have to find a way to help people identify their purpose and their gift in life, right? Because each and every one of us has something to contribute, but we might not have been able to be afforded that opportunity, right? To contribute what you have and realize life is good. Cleveland has been so amazingly good to me. Literally. Cleveland has been amazing to me.
And you've been good to us.
Yes. But within that, though, what I know is that so many more of Clevelanders have not had that opportunity. And I want them to be able to experience, in their own way, what a community that is pouring into you looks like, so you can live a life well lived. Life is not guaranteed to any of us. I can be gone tomorrow, hopefully not. If it happens, I know I've lived a really good life here. I got there's a lot of other more things that I want, but I really feel strongly of people finding opportunities and creating spaces for people to be able to define that for themselves and having a pathway to make that a reality.
Well spoken. I got a minute. I want to ask you.
Okay.
What's your favorite Netflix series?
Oh my goodness. I got so many. Okay, so I'm going to just tell people my most recent one. I am on Survival of the Thickest.
Survival of the Thickest.
Survival of the Thickest. Michelle Buteau. Oh my goodness. She is an amazing, I would say, writer, executive producer, actress, comedian. And so it's fun, it's laughing, but it also ties in some real societal issues. It's amazing. Good job.
Did you watch American Primeval?
I have started to watch that.
You gotta watch that.
I'm on episode 3 or 4. It's crazy, and understanding that it's a part of our history.
Right.
And see, this is the thing too, where in this time where people tell you don't know about history is such a great teacher. A great teacher. American Primeval, that's a good one.
We got to talk about it.
We should. Okay.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been my pleasure.
Oh,
Honored to have you.
again, thank you so much for the invitation. This has really been fun, and thank you for just engaging in conversations. It really is important, and you really get to know people on a more personal level. So thank you for affording me this opportunity.
Always, and we'll talk again. And thanks to all of you for watching. I'm Cornell Calhoun III for TV 20 and Conversations with Cal. And remember, if you don't like what's being said, change the conversation.